This Hey, there we are. Whoa, there we go. Okay, levels? Levels! Good, we're at levels. Excellent. What's going on, guys? I see Howard in the chat. I expect a handful of people to tune in or catch this later. Okay, the audio's current bitrate 0 is lower than recommended. Is that because of the silence? I'm always getting this bitrate stuff, which I think is just because I've got this low production stream is what it is. Anyway, how's it going, guys? It is Zerilath, and we are here to tackle the next chapter in the Talmud or so. We'll see what goes on. I'm gonna try and I think I'm gonna do a nice solid 3 hours for you today. I am prepped for it. And I'm really excited to get to track 4 on this album. So I picked Colony, which some will say that Horacle is a better album, and I'm not even going to argue with them. I just love Colony as an album. Colony, the song, is probably one of my absolute favorite riffs in all of metal. So I like throwing this album on from time to time. All right. So here we are at chapter 16. Regulations concerning articles which may be saved from a conflagration on Sabbath. Now, I believe the conflagration is like a burnt offering. I think that's what the word is for. Mishnah. All sacred scriptures may be saved from a conflagration on the Sabbath, be such scriptures allowed or not allowed to be read on Sabbath. The scriptures written in any language whatsoever must be considered sacred and brought to a safe place, even on a weekday. Why are some sacred scriptures not allowed to be read on Sabbath? In order that one might not miss the sermons at the schoolhouse, one may save the case of the book with the book, the case of the tefillin with the tefillin. Even if money is contained therein, where must such things be taken for safety? In a closed space, surrounded by walks, Ben Bathaira says, even in a space that has one side open. Gemara. It was taught if the scripture were written in Aramaic, Targum, or in any other language, they need not be saved from a conflagration. Ah, okay. Okay, so. Oh, isn't that interesting that they say Aramaic by name, but also any other, or in any other language? So, here's the crazy thing, though. Remember, we're dealing with this broken language. We're dealing with a language of like maybe 10,000 words at best. Like 8 to 10,000 words in their language. Right? And this was compared to the classical Greek period by which all of this was put together, or when all of this existed to eventually be put together out of what was saved from antiquity. It's so fucking broken that you wonder. But perhaps it's also important. I mean, we're I don't think we're talking about like burning books, like on general principle, but the need to burn something on a conflagration, right? Because I'd imagine these Sabbath laws get to a point of like, oh my God, I don't have a burnt offering. I can't burn the Torah, can I? It's just like, you can if it's in Aramaic, bro. Huzzay! Right? Anyway, and it's the Christians. Most Christians are full-blown adopted to Aramaic because, the most certain of gospel sources, New Testament sources, are Aramaic. Why was there no Hebrew Gospels for this alleged Messiah? That is because he was a Roman psyop functioning within the Judaic beliefs as per how the Pharisees had their shtick worked out with Rome. And the Romans were trying to, dick over the Pharisees, I think. Don't quote me on that. I'm kind of working off of stuff I should probably research instead of just say, like, oh, that's what it seems like to me. I think the answer happens to be out there, right? I just haven't listened to enough Gnostic informant yet. Gemara. It was taught if the scriptures were written in air. So says Arhuna, but Arhista says they must be saved according to the Tana, who holds that all of the scriptures may be read on Sabbath. There is no difference of opinion between Arhuna and Arhista, for the scriptures must be saved. But according to the Tana, who holds that some scriptures may and others may not be read on the Sabbath, Arhuna says that the latter need not be saved, while Arhista says they must in order not to disgrace the scriptures. An objection was made. Our Mishnah says that all scriptures, whether allowed to be read on the Sabbath or not, or even if written in whatever language, must be saved. We must assume that the readable part of the scriptures is the prophets and the non-readable part is the hagiographa. And if written in other languages, which are naturally non-readable, they must nevertheless be saved. How then can Arhuna say that the non-readable need not be saved? Arhuna might say, how can this explanation of the Mishnah correspond with the further ordinance that they should be brought to a safe place? Now, you're getting little tidbits of something here, right? Like, this language stuff's very important. You know me and my issue with Thoth. Hi, Thoth. I'm tracking you the fuck down. All right. Our Mishnah says that all scriptures, whether allowed to be read on the Sabbath or not, even if written in whatever language, must be saved. We must assume that the readable scriptures, the prophets... so that the readable part of the scriptures is the prophets, and the non-readable part is the hagiographa. And if written... in other languages, which are naturally non-readable, they must nevertheless be saved. All right. Gotcha. Right. So most people typically agree with that statement. right? When you're hearing like not about what gets burnt, but just on what um is this discourse is giving you a sense of their value assessment on the language of scripture. Don't I always argue? Don't hasn't everybody who's just been a little sick of the Bible thumper just quoting scripture at you, being like, okay, what version are you quoting? What publisher? What language? What interpreters? Huh? What edition? But they don't care. They think that the Word of God is infallible, and in that, as long as it's in the Bible, God magically makes sure those words are perfectly there. Right? Which and you know, you don't see too many publications with typos, I suppose, right? I mean, I never paid attention, rather, and it's not worth my time to do so, because that would be me looking for an authority within the book that I already know is not there. So I don't need to do that. Maybe I needed to do that 30 years ago and never did, but since then, information that is far more relevant to the issue of the Bible than whether many editions have been cleaned of typos just to keep up the authority of God. Which I can imagine some freaking really OCD motherfuckers doing that. But anyway. Hey, what's going on? Phoenix Enigma. Charles Manson and Jim Jones taught me everything I know about the U.S. funded theology. Right, yes. Well, U.S. funded theology, like, this is talking, you know, and we're just talking about effectively Jewish funded theology, right? Perhaps it's Babylonian funded theology. But I think we all understand what we're looking at. So you don't burn it, but you don't read it on the Sabbath, right? Because for them, they're saying that you're only reading the prophet books. Okay, so on Sabbaths, that means that their biggest books are not even the Torah, right? So their biggest books for reading and such, you know, that it's the prophets. So that means, you know, you're talking about Isaiah and Ezekiel and all that stuff, right? And it is my contention from various sources in the astrotheology side of what they are doing is that all of these prophets, that's your actual stand-ins for heroes in mythology, which are also stand-ins for gods in mythology. And they are stand-ins for the stories of things our ancestors did in history. Probably things that they did that emerged out of cycles, and where a guy actually did it on such a scale that people acknowledged, look, he is done just as it is done in the stars, because of the story that they know about the guy with the hammer or whatever. Right? And if you are out of alignment, you are going to make big mistakes when you see someone in our material world having the mantle of the deity or the ancestor or whatever, like the Anunnaki did. And if you're and if your teachings are already off base, they're going to run it on you, right? When the Anunnaki came, they were summoned. Understand this. They were summoned. We were, we on a soul level were becoming corruptible. In the paradise time that led up to the time that all land became ice, Altlant ice, Atlantis. And Atlantis is mostly just our recollection of the Hyperborean order of the unified family from time immemorial. Which also went through ebbs and flows, but was always occupying, but it was always people, right? And different levels of their ability, and different ways that we honored each other in the incredible things that we did when we lived. And then dark sorcery came in and wanted to bring something in from a new universe that is incongruent with ours, and deliberately pulling from something that comes from a dark, black, inverted, horrific place, from people that they became corrupted. They used corrupted sciences. They probably started with divination, much like John Dee, in a John Dee style of things. And you will find that Enochian magic is kind of a predecessor to just how you do electrical schematics. And each node and each line in magic serves the same kind of function as a node to a wire on a circuit board. The angels and demons running amok along these gridworks. And language, the large language model. And you tell me what words that we speak to AI are getting thrown into a conflagration instead of being honored in our pursuit of answers that it can find for us on the open internet. And this is the problem, and why I am for the Butlerian Jihad. I have a very limited relationship with AI. All right. If it says that they must be allowed, if it says that they must be saved from the conflagration, it is self-evident that they must be brought to a safe place. What is the correct interpretation of the Mishnah? Arhuna interprets it according to his understanding thus: the readable part of the scriptures is the prophets, the non-readable part is the hagiographa, providing they are not written in the holy language of Hebrew. But if written in other languages, they need not be saved. But although they need not be saved on the Sabbath, if they lie in an unfit place, even on weekdays, they must be brought into a safe place. Well, hold on a second. Did he just say they need not be saved? But if you're not going to conflagrate them, then you have to send them to a safe place. It's just like, you're questioning whether you're going to fucking burn them. But if you're not, you gotta make sure they're in a safe place. Anyway, Arista interprets the Mishnah according to his understanding thus: the readable part is the prophets, the non-readable part is the hagiographa, and although written in other languages, they must also be saved, and the term should be brought to a safe place. Refers even to torn pieces of such scriptures, although written in other languages. Another objection was made. We have learned in Abore an objection. This is somebody who wants to fucking conflagrate scriptures, if that's an objection. We have learned in Aboretha, if the scriptures are written in Aramaic or any other language, they must be saved from a conflagration. And that's a question. Is this not contradictory to Arhuna's opinion? Nay, Arhuna may say that the Tana of the Boretha holds the scriptures written in other languages to be readable. Come and hear scriptures written in Coptic, Median, Old Hebrew, Elamite, or Greek, although not permitted to be read, must be saved from a conflagration. This is surely a contradiction to Arhuna. Arhuna might say there is a difference of opinion among the different Tanem. Like, they're worried about not burning these scripture. Like I'm assuming, because this is said, like, the title of the chapter is concerning articles. Now, do they mean literally articles as in sections of things written down, like a news article, and let's a scripture being a written scroll is an article? I mean, it is, but I'm thinking more along the articles of trash, articles of clothing. That's what I'm thinking of. Like articles in general, just items of sacrifice. You know, a chicken, an apple, a love letter to God. I don't know. Things that burn. Excuse me. As we've learned in the... Okay, so there's a difference of opinion among the different Tanem. As we have learned in the following Tosefta, if the scriptures are written in Aramaic or in any other language, they must be saved from the conflagration. But Archios says that they must not. Said Archios, it happened that Abba Halafta went to Argamaliel, the great in Tiberias, who sat at the table of Yohanan the Nazuf, also called Ben Nazuf, and held in his hand the book of Job in Aramaic, which he was reading. Said Abba Halafta to Argamaliel, I remember having at one time come to thy grandfather Argamaliel, who stood on the step of the corridor of the temple when the book of Job in Aramaic was brought to him. He told the mason to take the book and immure it in underneath the stairway, whereupon the later Gamaliel also ordered the book he was reading to be immured. Well, see, that's interesting. Is the book of Job, because they say the book of Job's the oldest one. Okay. So the oldest book with the newer language being used as an example, it's a good example. The rabbis taught the benediction, which are written Hebrew, or amulets, although containing letters of the holy name and many passages of the scriptures, must not be saved. Okay. Contains letters of the holy name and many passages of the scriptures must not be saved from a conflagration. All right. All right, so benedictions and amulets are not to be saved, but may be burned up together with such letters and passages. From this it was said that one who writes benedictions commits an act equal to burning up the scriptures, as it happened in Zidon. One wrote benedictions, and it was told to Ishmael. Ishmael set forth to investigate the matter. As soon as the man saw Ishmael approach, he threw the writing into a bowl of water. Said Ishmael to him the following words: the punishment thou wilt receive for this latter deed will be greater than that for writing the benediction. The exilarch asked of Rabbah bar Arhuna if the scriptures were written with paint or with dyes and in the holy language. May they be saved from a conflagration or not? I ask thee, taking in consideration the differences of opinion existing between the different Tanem, for those who hold the scriptures written in Aramaic or any other language must not be saved. What is their opinion regarding such as are written in the holy language and not with ink? Whereas those who hold that the scriptures in any language must be saved, do they not refer to such as are written in ink only, but those written with paint or dye, even if written in Hebrew, should also not be saved? Answered Rabba bar Arhuna, no, they must not be saved. Rejoined the exilarch Arhamnuna, taught in a Boretha that they may. Answered Rabba, if such was taught in a Boretha, it must be so. The rabbis taught before the passage of Numbers 10:35. And it came to pass, when the ark set forward, that Moses said, etc. And at the close of the next verse, the Holy One, blessed be he, made signs, the inverted letter nun, which must be inserted in the scroll, in order to signify that this is not the proper place for the two passages. But Rabbi says that this is out of the question, and the two verses form a valuable book in themselves. We have heard from Ar Samuel ben Nachmani in the name of Arjonathan that we have not a Pentateuch but a Septateuch, i.e. we have not 5 books of Moses but 7. Would this imply that Ar Samuel holds with Rabbi and declares that there are 7 because the two verses, which form a book in themselves, divided numbers into 2 books? Who is the Tana? However, that differs with Rabbi. He is Ar Simon ben Gamaliel, for we have learned in a Boretha. Ar Simon ben Gamaliel says that these 2 passages will, in the future, be removed and put in their proper place. Why were they put there, then? In order to make a separation between the 2 scourges that befell the Israelites. Which was the second scourge? The one that follows immediately afterwards. Numbers 11:1. And it came to pass that as the people complained in a manner displeasing to the Lord, etc., etc., and which was the first? The first was as it is written in Ibid 10:33, and they set forward from the mount of the Lord, which according to Hamabi Hanina means, and they departed from the ways of the Lord, which is the proper place for the 2 passages, said Ar Ashi. In Numbers 2, where it is decreed how every man should walk in the wilderness, and the end of the chapter stating that every man did as he was commanded, should be followed by those 2 verses. All right, so that's pretty interesting, and you see how there's this discussion that is part of the craftsmanship of Scripture here, right? Look at this. This is evidence. This is evidence that man wrote the Bible and not God. They just found this stuff and it was impressive to them. It is their story. And they're trying to put it back together. That's really what all this is. They found something that didn't belong to them and claimed it as their heritage in these stories, in this language. And now they're trying to edit it properly for them. And they're admitting as such right here. With this, you don't put this level into questioning it unless it is not the infallible word of God, but which it isn't. It's part of the Babylonian books of the law, which is given in a historical mythological context because all of that law is precedented on the cases, which alleges cases going back into antiquity when they allege that the Hebrew people started, etc. All it is tracking the law in obedience to God by somebody who was there when a Brahmin became Abraham. And other such events that were paltered. Anyways, 335. This is a great time to hit the next intermission. Ordinary story.
Say you get a surf shack on Airbnb. Now you can also get a surf lesson with a pro surfer.
Alright. One day, maybe I'll have enough time to commit a day to production work so I can just throw things together. You know, I have to really do better with my money because I'm officially at the point where I need a new computer. My primary hard drive space is running out of room to support the operating system of the computer. Meaning I'm constantly having to delete shit. like applications. It's fucking annoying. I run on a bare minimum amount of things I need to do this show. And to also be capable of doing recording stuff as well because of the music. This is the only two fucking things I must be capable of doing with this computer, is running this show and making music. That's it. I don't give a fuck about anything else. All right. The schoolman asked, "May the blank pieces of the scroll of laws, which had become detached from the scroll, be saved from a conflagration on Sabbath or not?" This is a long amount of time. Like, are they constantly burning scriptures? Is the conflagration about things written down being burned? And why is there so much interest in... It's one thing to be arguing about which books need to be kept safe, but they're arguing about which books... Like, why do they want to burn them so bad? The schoolman asked, "May the blank pieces of the scroll of laws which had become detached from the scroll be saved from a conflagration on Sabbath or not?" How do these books even find themselves in a conflagrational situation? Come and hear. The Gilionim, blank pieces of the scroll, and the Sadducean books need not be saved from the conflagration. So this guy wants to burn the Sadducees, eh? So they together, with the holy names contained in them, does not the word Gilionim have reference to the blank pieces of the scroll? Nay, the blank pages of the Sadducean books. How can it mean the blank pages of the Sadducean books? Why is it not even allowed to save the Sadducean books themselves? Perhaps the Boretha means that the Sadducean books are considered as blank pages, hence must not be saved. Wow. Now, look at that twist in the logic there. Right? Is like, he has reason to believe that the source determining this is trying to gaslight you into saying there's nothing written on this, there's nothing here. That's nothing. That's black splotches. It's not even language. You can throw that away. What? Who's doing the book burning in Nazi Germany, I wonder? Isn't that interesting? Now, I am sure that they were also doing the smut burnings, but you gotta, like, they got a word called halakha. They've got the conflagrations. It's all in there. Somebody went insane in Germany before Germany went insane. You know what I mean? We were insane before the pandemic, and you know it. We were insane before Trump derangement syndrome, and you know it. And we've been, I think, quite insane since the 1960s. The struggle for the true grail of consciousness to break through the psyopedelic trip of the post-JFK America is a living fucking nightmare. But it created some great fucking music. Right? Or at least the response to it did. right? You know? I mean, what the fuck does one make of Jim Morrison and the Doors? Or can we allow ourselves to say that sometimes the only thing evil can do is allow the creator to go a certain distance on his own, right? I think that the new model of the rock star, much of which, like, you have to understand, Jim Morrison, in part, was naval intelligence experimentation on creating celebrity. Like, Jim Morrison was the naval intelligence contribution to the invention of the rock star. And here I am. All right. So my point is that, like, you don't get drunk on that, right? And you know, Jim had gone too far, and they had to shut it down. Now maybe Jim disappeared and became a fat old banking accountant somewhere with a different name. You know, maybe he was Rush Limbaugh, and, you know, there's so much that one could say. But anyway, may the blank pieces of the scroll of laws, which had become detached from the scrolls, be saved from the conflagration on Sabbath or not. Come in here. The Gilonim, blank pieces of the scroll, and the Sadducean books need not be saved from the conflagration. Hold on, did I read this part already? I think I did. Yeah, I'm sorry, I did that already. The text of the Boraitha says further, the Gilaonim and the Sadducean books must not be saved from the conflagration. Achios says that on weekdays the holy name must be torn out, wherever it appears, and preserved, and the remainder must be burned. Now here's where you got to your ultimate anal retentive. Do not burn the name of God, and thus you have to proofread an entire fucking thing to make sure that the name of God isn't in there. Which, the name of God isn't in there, but the next best thing, which is Yahweh, is in there, right? So they're looking for the Yahweh Vade, right? And if that's in there, it's like, don't burn it, it's in there! No! Like, that's what's going on with them. It's like, that's like the ultimate sin. Do not burn the literal tetragrammaton name of God. You're fucked. You will get fucked if you do that. That's what they're worried about. That's what they're really worried about. Right? So it's part of what's reinforcing the Stockholm Syndrome. So anyway, for when a man is... preserved the Tarfani may bury my children. Hold on, whoa. Okay, holy name must not be torn and remain burned. Okay, but our Tarfon says, may I bury my children if I would not burn such books together with the holy name. Whenever they reached my hand, for when a man is pursued by murderers or by a snake, it were better for him to seek refuge in the temple of an idol than to enter the house of such people. For the idolaters serve their idols because they know not God, but the others know God and deny him. All right, that's kind of interesting, right? And they're making... You see, you know, and that gets into the whole assumptions within the First Amendment about things, right? It's just like, I believe in a small aspect of totemism, not applied as it's been seen applied, right? And a temple typically will have a totem, just like I have a totem of Zeus and a totem of Anubis on my altar, right? They are just a kind of point of focus. The Ark of the Covenant has two angels on the cover of it. Those are graven images of angels. So, you know, all of that is in your Holy of Holies. The Ark, it's a box. It's not a person. It doesn't have personification, sure, but it's an idol. Okay? Your septatush or pentatush, your Babylonian, perhaps Palestinian Talmuds, your Mishnahs and everything, you know, are your idol. Your bibliodolaters, the worshippers of a book. And you keep books in your high tabernacles and everything. You don't see the greatness of man in any way, shape, or form. You're afraid of giving any honor to man and what he's capable of doing in his will, because you're a cult based on destroying the will of man. That's what your purpose is. To destroy the will of men. Because it ultimately comes down to the will of Yahweh, who must never be destroyed. That's the way you see it all. Hey, what's up, Violence? Yeah, I'm glad you're here, man. Good of you to catch alive. The latter are referred to by the verse Isaiah 47:8, I think. And behind the doors and the doorposts, thou hast placed thy remembrances, implying that they remember the Lord very well, but nevertheless place their memory behind the door and doorposts. Okay, we're going to check on Isaiah over here. That's a very checkable one. So let's see. Oh. I think I said 47. Was that 47.3? Wait. Or is it? 47.8. 47.8. Okay. Dwelling starting to say in the heart. Maybe that's not. Maybe it's 57. Maybe it's 57. No? That doesn't go up to 57. Oh my God, with the Roman numerals. I'm retarded. I'm being laughed at by all the Jews. This is... LVII. Yeah, 47. 5, 6, 7. I think that's how you're supposed to read that. You see, I have to do this now. So annoying. Sorry. All right. Roman numeral. Oh my God, can I spell, please? Numeral. LVII. LVI. No, it's LVI. Yeah, LVII. And it says 57? It's 57. So it's 57.8. But why does my I... Oh, it does go up to 57. I'm sorry. It's covered up. Okay. Sorry, guys. Okay, and behind the door... Okay, yeah, here it is. And behind the door and the jam, your place, your memorial. Then you part yourself from me and are ascending. You widen your bed and you are making your contract with them. You love their bed, a hand you perceive. Okay. We're gonna have to go back and get some context. Let's see. Among smooth stones on a mountain, you place your bed. There you are sent aside. Okay, let's just read this from 1. 57:1. Let me get a sip, because this is going to be a mouthful. The righteous one, he perishes, and there is no man laying it on his heart, and men of benignity are being swept up, while there is no considering that because of the evil the righteous one is swept up. It on his heart, and men of the benignity are being swept up. Benignity. One. Where's benignity in here? Righteous one. Kindness. Maybe kindness? And men. Okay, so the righteous ones, he perishes, and there is no man placing heart on, and mortals of kindness, one being gathered. So, and mortals of kindness, anshi. So, they could have referred to us as men, being ADM and doing Adam. But no, they decided to refer to us as mortals instead. This is a larger significance than just Adam. Properly a mortal, and thus differing from a more dignified. Hence a man in general, singly or collectively. It is often unexpressed in the English version, especially when used in apposition with another word. Okay, thus differing from and more dignified. Okay, and then that references Adam as Adam. So, it's saying that the mortal is more dignified. That's fascinating. Well, anyway, so you have the Anshi is the mortal, the Enosh, the Enaush, the Enaush, the Uenaush, the Uenaush, or the Uenoshe, Anoshe, Anshe, and Asha. You get it, all right? All right. Kindness, one's being gathered. The benignity are being, the men of benignity. Okay, there is no one understanding that from the faces of evil he's gathered the righteous. See, it chooses to use benignity in here, and then it doesn't use benignity in the transliteration. Or the benignity. Benignity, I think it means. And men of benignity. Mortals, ones being gathered in, there is no one understand. That's probably the no one understanding, which would be the Mabin. That's what it sounds like to me. Is that's where that's coming from. Yeah. The Ba'ain, I guess the M is silent. To separate mentally or distinguish. All right. Either way, let's keep going here. Yet he or she shall enter into peace, and they shall rest on their beds, each one walking in the correct way before him. As for you, come near hither, sons of depravity, seed of an adulterer and a prostitute. Against whom are you making pleasure? At whom are you widening the mouth, sticking out the tongue? Are you not children of transgression, seed of falsehood? Okay, so this guy's calling out whores, right? Here we get some whores, some whoas. You who are warmed among the oaks under every flourishing tree, slayers of children in the wadis, under the overhangs of the crags. All right, so these guys aren't just being whores, they're also being, seems like they're miscreants, monsters that are slaying children, allegedly. Let's double check that. The Eildim is the children. The Yeld, something born, i.e. a lad or offspring. Boy, child, fruit, son. So this is anywhere from birth to probably, I would say, 7, 13 or whatever. Whenever like kind of like manhood, it kind of kicks off in the way their culture is. You know, so. But they're killing those kids. Are they Epsteining those kids? I don't know. I don't know if he's going there with that yet. But he is kind of lumping it all together. Does it fucking matter? Because they're doing one to the other and one to the other. They've still done both acts. Doesn't matter they didn't do them at the same time to the same target. Among the smooth stones of the wadi is your portion. They are your lot. Also to them you pour out libations, you offer up at approach present, should I be consoled over these. Right, so like they're hosting parties. Right? I'm trying, like, where is this wadi? Wadi, is that this, the water course? The Nakal? Where are they getting the word wadi out of? I don't see a W or... Because a wadi and a water course makes sense to me, but it's not pronounced wadi, it's pronounced nakal. They are your lot. Also to them you pour your library. Okay. On a mountain lofty and lifted are places of the bed. There are also ascent to sacrifice. Okay. On a mountain lofty and lifted, up your place you bed. There also you ascend to sacrifice a sacrifice. Okay, so the mountains that they choose to have their parties are also the mountains in which they sacrifice. Oh, that's interesting. This is getting more Epstein-y by the second. And then we're here. And behind the door and the lamb you place your memorial. Then you part yourself from me and are ascending. You widen your bed and you are making your contract with them. You love their bed, a hand you perceive. Hold on a second here. So hold on. That's the verse, right? 8. Isaiah 8. And behind the door and the doorpost has thou placed thy remembrances. Implying that they remember the Lord very well, but nevertheless place. That's not a good example. They're Epsteining over fucking here. Isaiah's scorning them. You're supposed to be on Isaiah's side. You can't find a scripture with somebody who isn't a fucking monster honoring the Lord? This is your fucking argument? Let's see how far this goes for a second. You are conveying oil to the king and are increasing your compounds. You are sending your agents far off and are making them condescend unto the unseen. Okay. Unto the unseen. Sheol. To... Okay. All right, he's petitioning the underworld. He's making prayers, incantations to the underworld, right? And with the blood sacrifice going on, we all know that this is not good underworld behavior. This is bad underworld behavior, right? There's two underworlds, and the dark sorcerers tap into these things. By the greatness of your way, you are wearied, yet you do not say, I despair. You find a revival of your hand, therefore you do not beseech me. Of whom are you anxious and are fearing, and that you should lie to me and do not remember me and do not lay it on your heart? Have I not hushed even from the eon, yet you are not fearing me? Okay. By the greatness of your way, you are weary. Right, and here by verse 11, he's being ridiculed for the list of things he's doing. So this seems like he's making a really fucking horrible argument. At any rate, it's now 4:07. Time is flying. All right, let's... I mean, I'm not crazy, has time flown, or am I just getting ahead of myself because I feel like taking a break because that was exhausting nonsense? No, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's been a hot minute since I took the last break. Yeah, there it is. I wouldn't have missed that. All right, good. We're going to take a break here. I think we are at... Which track are we at? Are we at Colony already? No. This is Scorn.
This is the story of the One. As a lineman, it's his job to keep the power on.
Oh, okay. There we go. That kind of crept up on me while I was handling break stuff. And I'm pretty sure. Yes, okay, that was definitely the end of the song. Sometimes they throw those breaks in like a beat before it's over, and then like you miss a really cool like there could be like a really cool like little outro thing. But anyway, da 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 da. Oh, I have to bring it up. Where'd it go? There it goes. Hey, good. We're back. So I looked ahead, and we're not going to finish this chapter today. We're going to keep at it. Like I said, I want to pull the 3 hours for you today, and then we'll call it around 6 o'clock. All right. The schoolman asked, "May the blank pieces of the scroll of laws, which had become detached from the scroll, be saved from a conflagration on Sabbath or not? Come and hear the Gileanum. Blank pieces of the scroll and the Sadducean books need not be saved from the conflagration. They, together with the holy names contained in them, does not the word Gileanum have reference to the blank pieces of the scroll? Nay, the blank pieces of the Sadducean books, how can it mean the blank pages of the Sadducean books? Why, it is not even allowed to save the Sadducean books themselves. Perhaps the Boretha means that the Sadducean books are considered as blank pages and hence must not be saved." Okay, we read that already, but I'm glad I kind of read that again because it's a little bit, just want to make sure I understood that anyway. The text of the Boretha says further, the Gileanum and the Sadducean books must not be saved from the conflagration. Achios says that 1 weekdays the holy name must be torn out wherever it appears and preserved, and the remainder must be burned. But Artarfon says, "May I bury my children if I would not burn such books together with the holy name whenever they reached my hands. For when a man is pursued by murders or by a snake, it were better for him to seek refuge in the temple of an idol than to enter the house of such people. For once again, I do want to read this again. For the idolaters serve their idols because they know not God, but the others know God and deny him. They, the latter, are referred to by the verse Isaiah. Yeah, okay, then we've read all that and got into all that, and we were talking about how this is some fucking... They're using Epsteiners and saying that practice was okay despite it being rebuked by Isaiah. Said Ishmael, in the scriptures it is even allowed to erase... Like, the prophets can be like shamans in history, right? Like, let's say we are in the time of Sumer before the Anunnaki. Help me imagine pre-Anunnakian fucking times, people. Pre-Anunnaki times. Do not talk to me about the Middle East unless you acknowledge that something fucked up happened when the Anunnaki showed up, when the Anuna came. Don't talk to me otherwise. The pagans were all screwed up because of what they fucking did to their minds. And the wicked plots that made all that fucking happen. And then it got replaced with all manner of derivatives and associations to this psychosis that we are reading about here. This is book burn. This is the laws of book burning we're going over. This is just like Are they implying, because of everything being said here and nothing being outside of talking about scriptures, do they literally want to burn every book that isn't the scriptures? And that's the only book? Is that what the law of Babylon will bring? Some servant of the Talmud will break into your fucking home, grab all your books and throw them in a fucking pile. They'll take the fucking hard drive out of your fucking computer and throw it in a fucking magnet burner or something. Wipe it. Is that what these guys are? Because I certainly would start getting ideas, right? You know, these guys are word searching to preserve a word and destroy everything else fanatically, anal retentively. They're bureaucrats, man. Just like, you just feel this power of your bureaucratic ability to do this. It's just like, I handle the Sabbath more perfectly than you. And I think that's it. It's like every week this is like a game. This is a fucking game. I think that it's more about having the Sabbath to break the Sabbath and not get caught. And they use it to hone their skills in espionage. And thus why they would make the most psychotic of spy agents you could ask for. Now think of the fucking Mossad. Dangerous. Fucking dangerous. So you bet your ass you want to shine a big fucking disinfectant called the spotlight of consciousness on it. That is why we are here. In the scriptures, it is even allowed to erase with bitter water the holy name of God, which was written in a holy cause in order to bring about peace between man and wife, a fortiori. It should be allowed in the case of those people who cause discord and enmity between Israel and the Heavenly Father. Hold on, that's interesting. Hold on. Okay. To bring peace between man and wife. Huh. A fortiori. Copy. Now that's Latin. That's Latin, but what's the context in the Talmud? Let's see. Painfully analyzing the tool of logic and text. The vowel vocamer, the lenient strict. Hang on. The Talmud employs a kal vocamer, a fortiori argument, to establish a borrower's liability for theft and loss, showcasing the strength. Okay. This is from Safaria Library. It's referring to something called the kal vocamer. So this has got something to do with wedding stuff. All right, hang on here. The logic of Val Vocamer, Midrash. The principle of Val Vocamer is a fundamental method in Talmudic logic and understanding. Its application can deepen one's grasp of rabbinic reasoning. The Sifra, an early halakhic Midrash on Leviticus, uses the example of Miriam's seclusion to illustrate the principle of parallelism in Val Vocamer's deductions. Val Vocamer, the a fortiori. So, oh man, this is such good context. I've nailed it. Bamidbar 12:14. And the Lord said to Moses, now, if Miriam's father, had spat in her face, would she not be in shame for 7 days? Valvokamer, if the Shekinah does so, it should be 14 days. Okay, that's interesting. It says, if the Shekinah does so. So that's a spiritual principle. So it's not condemning her to shame for 7 days. It is if the Shekinah in her brings her to 7 days of shame. So to me, that sounds more like that's a little bit closer to. There's something a little bit more natural, I think, about that going on, because the Shekinah could possibly have a pre-Anu interpretation. Best way I can say, I'm going to fucking emphasize anytime I see good points in this manner, and I will do so from now until the rest of my days. But it suffices that a Kal Volkamer deduction parallel what it is deduced from therefore, Bamidbar 12:14. Let her be sequestered 7 days outside the camp, and then let her be gathered in. Okay. Interesting. It should be allowed in the case of those people who cause discord and enmity between Israel and Heavenly Father. To them, David had reference in Psalms CXXX9. That might be 139. 21:22. Behold those that hate thee, I ever hate, O Lord, and for those that rise up against thee do I feel loathing. With the utmost hatred do I hate them. Enemies are they become unto me. So as they must not be saved from a conflagration, they must also not be saved from the waters, or anything that might destroy them. All right. And it's saying that it should be allowed, right? So what they're saying is this is the marriage between Israel and God. And thus, like, this is a big clue to Zionism, right fucking here. This is a clue to Zionism right fucking here. Okay? So that means that this verse is a big part of Zionism. All right? To them, all right, so let's reread that. In the scriptures, it is even allowed to erase with bitter water the holy name of God, which was written in a holy cause in order to bring about peace between man and wife. A fortiori, it should be allowed in the case of those people who cause discord and enmity between Israel and Heavenly Father. Right, so those that try to corrupt the relationship between Israel and God. Think about the role now of the Roman Empire in the state of Israel, and who could be blamed for breaking up that relationship. Now let's think about that in context to the United States of America Incorporated and the commercial engine of its empire, and the United Nations sanctioned state of Israel, all financed by the Incunabula. Okay. So we're going to go find this. I want to say it's 139, 21, 22. So I'm going to guess if I'm right. Psalms 129. No, I'm sorry, 139. 139. That might work. Oh, yeah, I think I found it. All right, hang on. All right. Do I not hate those hating you, O Yahweh, and with those rising against you, am I not disgusted? All right. The Mishnayach, or Mishnayach. Sane, or sane, or sane, to hate. Enemy, foe. All right. You not my enemy? Yeah, okay. What is this? Why has this got a question mark? It's saying low, but that's not really what it's saying. If you can see with the cursor right there, right? It's a question mark, then it says not. Something not. A primitive particle, not the simple or obs negation. By implication, no, often used with other particles as follows. Can, for, out of. Right, okay. Well, so lo and behold, one's hating of you, Yahweh, I shall hate. So the ones who hate Yahweh, I'm going to hate them. Right? And in one's rising of you, I am being disgusted. Let's see. Kut. Properly to cut off. Figuratively to detest. Right, so like I disown you. We're no longer friends. Right? Ending warm relations to each other. So let's go back a couple of verses at least. If I said, surely it snuffed me up, and night is built upon even darkness. Right. All right. So let's okay. 1. Yahweh, you investigate me and are knowing me. You yourself know my sitting down and my rising up. You understand my thought from afar. My path and my palate you have measured off, and for all my ways you have made provision. All right, so here he is talking about how, his entire ontological existence is Yahweh, right? His entire Dasein is made up of the Lord. For though there be no declaration of my tongue, behold, O Yahweh, you know it all. Back and front you have besieged me, and you set your palm upon me. Marvelous is such knowledge beyond me, it is impregnable, I cannot reach to it. Whither could I go from your spirit, and whither could I run away from your presence? If I should climb to the heavens, you are there, and should I make my birth in the unseen, behold, you are there, right? So, omnipresence, it's going through all the omnis. This is atonism, right? This is all the atonism, right? Which is meant to replace the principle of the all, which we know as the higher force, the creator God, like the big God. People say capital G God. I consider the Jin region to be this thing. I believe the Hindus got it with the Brahmin, right? But this is not the relationship. It doesn't become personified into a man of a certain character and having those ancestral ties and everything else, right? There's a lot of twisting of paganism and a chief god and a god of kings, like Odin being a god of kings, right? One could only say really that because Odin was such a high-profile chieftain god, king god, royal god, that it's not that he's superior to anybody, but it's just a role. It's ultimately just a role, and not to be misconstrued as him being a literal boss, other than every time the situation arises, it's always Odin with the answer, or finds the answer, so on and so forth, right? Besides, a lot of this is indicative of Heimdall. So, for yourself achieved by making innermost being, your over. So I shall acclaim you. You are fearfully distinguished. Marvelous are your works. You have known my soul very thoroughly. My skeleton was not suppressed from you when I was made in concealment. I was woven together as in the nether parts of the earth. There's a very interesting primordial understanding of physiology that's right there. So there's things to glean from that. Your eyes saw my embryo. Oh. I think I've seen this word before, and I've always just been... a golem! Ah! A wrapped and unformed mass. So this doesn't have to be physiologically literal. And now also think about what that says about those in the pro-choice camp of arguments. If you're considered in the golem phase and not a man of any sort. How precious are your thoughts to me, O El? How plentiful are their sums? If I number them, they are more than the sand. I awake, and I am still with you. Oh, that you would dispatch the wicked, O Eloah, and bloodthirsty men would withdraw from me. The Eloah, or Alu, as it says here, this should be the chief of gods. Eloah, rarely shortened, probably prolonged, a deity or the deity. And then you see the big G, little g got right. So yes, the Eloha. So if you're using that as a word and not a name, and you're conveying your conversations about other pantheons of gods, you're talking about, oh, tell me about your Elohim. Oh, well, we have Zeus. Oh, your Eloha. Oh, your chief god, ours. We have Yahweh. He's our Eloha. Right? This would be the pagan conversation if these are the pagan names. Right? In the pre-Anu time. We have to find these pagan gods. We have to help our lost family in the Middle East find their pagan gods. It's pre-Zoroastrian. We got to have a conversation with the Iranians when we start having a lot of open discussions with them in the future. When America does its shyster deal, but listen, it's a shyster deal that gets them in a line with us, and despite the Epsteinites running the show, we ourselves would like to be friends with they themselves over in Persia and have a conversation about ancestors. And it'll be fun. It'll be exciting. It'll be wild. You know? Everybody there is done with Allah Akbar, apparently. Those who speak of you with evil scheming, they bear words of hypocrisy against you. Now, the hypocrisy part is very fascinating, right? See, all of a sudden I am disqualified by being hated because I am no hypocrite. I stand here in reflection of everything that comes across my table and become more and more certain of the difference between I and they. And what may happen to be the same, which I will never rebuke just because it mirrors what I have determined in my own rights in proper conduct logic and etc., which may be a mere fragment of an otherwise broken concept. It is 4:36. It is break time, baby. Wait, do I not hate... Let's get up to 22. Do I not hate those hating you, O Yahweh, and with those rising against you I'm not disgusted. With complete hatred I hate them. They have become enemies to me. They know how to bring out those strong words. Search me out, O El, and know my heart. Test me and know my disquieting thoughts. I can understand this as the inner wolf that, it's just the inner wolf raged in me when I first saw saw the information, the evidence, the testimonies myself of what these monsters were that had no name, and now we have names like Epstein and his friends. Right? My wolf has a very, I would like to say that statement is true of me in my own convictions that I didn't check in with Odin and ask Odin, is it right or wrong of me to be angry about this? No! I trusted my own fucking heart, which is what Odin wants me to do. And if Yahweh doesn't want you to trust your own fucking heart, then he is not a real God. Because certainly he needs to be guiding your wisdom and everything else. And are these guys just doing divination all day, and that's why they don't give anybody credit for anything? The rabbis secretly do divinations in their rituals, and they're predicting the future, and then they go tell the lower Jews, hey, this is what's up, and don't do divination, it's witchcraft. And then all this weird shit happens to them, and they're stuck where they are, and their Messiah never comes, and nobody understands, and yet nobody understands that it's never coming. Or it comes and it's nothing like what you thought it was. People want to learn the hard way, or they're just not interested in learning, and they just want to end up paying for it because they're too terrified of God as per the program. Anyway, this here is the song I was bragging about. This is fucking Colony from In Flames. Hey, okay, good. Anyway, that's the sickest riff in the world. Excellent. All right. So let's get back to the Talmud. Yosef Ar Hainen asked of Ar Abua, may the books of Bi Abidan be saved? Answered Ar Abua, Ya, nay, I really cannot tell. That's an interesting answer. Rob never went to the Bi Abidan, and all the more not to the Bi Nitzreth. Samuel, however, never went to the Bi Nitzreth, but did go to the Bi Abidan. Mar Bar Yosef said, I of their society, and do not fear them. Still it happened at one time that he was in danger on their account. Interesting. So, who is Bi Abidan? And why is there a contention about his work? Is this guy like, is this like an ultra controversial dude that has not been mentioned thus far because they don't want to talk about him? I am going to go and see what I can get out of a search result. Actually, let me see. I'm going to keep... can I do... Where's the search engine? There it is. Paste. 0 results for Bi Abidan in the same website that I went to for the Fortiori. So let's just pop it in here. Paste. Bi Abidan. And Abidan, I think, isn't Abidan like the name phonetically the same name as a demon? All right, Bi Abidan in the Jewish Encyclopedia. Supposed to be the names of 2 places where, according to the Talmud... Okay, all right. We got something here. Let me see. Let's put this to size. Okay. Hang on. There we go. One sec. There. All right. The Bi Nazri or Nazruf. Okay, so the Abidan and the Nazruf, they seem to be competitors or something. Suppose names of 2 places where, according to the Talmud, disputations between Jews and non-Jews were held. The location of these places is as much a matter of dispute as the words themselves. Were they really names or places, or merely distorted designations for certain non-Jewish institutions? Interesting. The data given in the Babylonian Talmud are as follows. The passages are not found in the Palestinian Talmud, and at the time of Hadrian, Jewish scholars were required to come to be Abidan, or to give an excuse for their absence of Abzara, as Shab, or Zara 17b and Shab 152a. It is furthermore mentioned that Abba Arika visited neither Bi Abidan nor Bi Nazrif, while his friend and colleagues Samuel freely visited the former places, avoiding only the latter. The books of Bi Abidan, it's spelled that way without the H, so it becomes Abadan or Abadan, are also mentioned. Shab 1c, I think, in a way which shows clearly that they are similar to the, then that word's not trans, is that, it's not those words. I don't know that word. Mentioned elsewhere in the Talmud being the sacred scripture of the Judeo-Christians. Oh. Oh, really, you say? See, now I want to know about this. That's interesting. So, there was an early time. That is crazy. Does Gnostic Informant know about the existence of this? All right, give me a second here. Okay, it just gives me that. Well, that's the word. All right. In view of the fact that one place could not have served at the seat of disputation, both for the Palestinian and a century later for the Babylonian, the following dilemma arises. Either the expression of Bi Abadan and Bi Nazrif are merely general names for places where Jews and non-Jews met to discuss religious topics, or the Talmud designated thereby things that were related but not identical, and transferred Babylonian conditions to Palestinian soil. Babylonian conditions. Jastrow takes Bi'abadan to be a scornful appellation for this, a place of gathering. Joel and Lo for this, the house of Ebionites, and Binazrif for this, the house of the Nazarenes. I went to a Nazarene college when I was a Christian long ago. I wasn't going to the Nazarene church, but I needed to pick a college, and I was, using, I was on the born-again Christian trope, so, I just, what the Nazarene college had to offer, I liked. I also wanted to go to school in Boston. I thought that was kind of cool and not too far away. And I liked the experience, but overall, being in the school for me sucked. And I learned a lot about what is Christian and what is not Christian from meeting Christians that seem damn near secular compared to the Christianity that I chose to jump into in the 90s. It may therefore be assumed with certainty that Bi Abadan and Bi Nazrif were two places which in the first half of the 3rd century, they are not mentioned in later times, were considered in Babylonia to be the intellectual centers, where Jews and Persians disputed on religious subjects. They must have been so important that the Talmud applied the general name Bi Abadan to those localities where disputations between Jews and non-Jews occurred. Gotcha. So they're scriptures recording the arguments. So there's like, shouldn't we put these Mishnahs in here and these Bereitha, like that kind of thing, right? And they're just like, no. They're like, no, because it would possibly dilute their Jewishness, right? It may sit there and it may force them to be like, if some guy who's not Jewish comes through, he starts quoting the Zoroaster. You got another guy coming through and he's quoting something from the mystery schools we don't even fucking know. They don't want any other cults coming through, and they don't want any other pagans coming through. They want this little ilk here who's in on the Atonism. You've got to be like, you basically got to get your mind to Atonism before they're going to let you in like this, right? You know, this is why Christian stuff this is why they use Christian stuff, because Christianity is forcing itself on Judaism, right? It's like where the liberals like to appropriate everything that isn't Christian, the Christians like to appropriate everything that is Old Testament. From any character in which the book says that the Lord liked what they did there. Including genocide. And if we don't change our conversation about these books, we will forever be on this cycle from these ideologies, from a people led so far astray they will chop my head off for not realizing how their roots were chopped off. Okay, I think that's good on that. Ima Shalom, the wife of Eleazar, who was also a sister of Gamaliel II. Oh, we don't talk too much about the ladies like this, not by name. Encountered a philosopher in her neighborhood who was a judge and had the reputation of being inaccessible to bribery. Gamaliel and his sister wished to ridicule him and prove that he was accessible to bribery. Oh, this is already panning out like a Job situation. And this is this Gamaliel guy saying like, nah, no way he's a Puritan dude. No way he's incorruptible. Emma Shalom brought him a golden candle. He asked her what she wanted, so she answered, "My father is dead, and I wish to inherit some of his possessions." The judge said, "Go, I will order that you be given your share," said she. "Thou canst not order it so, because our law decrees that wherever there is a son, a daughter cannot inherit," answered the judge. "Since you Israelites are in exile, your law given you by Moses has been revoked, and a new law was given you by which daughters may inherit equally with sons." On the morrow came Gamaliel and brought him a Libyan ass. Ah, the ass has now popped up again. Hi, Set. And told him that he did not wish to let his sister inherit. Said the judge, "After thy sister left, I consulted the law again and found that the new law said I did not come to abolish the Mosaic law, neither to increase nor to diminish it. Hence, it must remain as in the old law that where a son is left a sister, where a son is left, a sister must not inherit." Said Ima Shalom to the judge, "May God make thy light as bright as a candle." Said Gamaliel to her in the presence of the judge, and asked him along and extinguished thy candle. Why are some sacred scriptures not allowed to be read on the Sabbath? Etc. Said Rab, "It is not allowed to read such scriptures only during the time of the sermons at the schoolhouse, but at any other they may be read. Samuel, however, said even at any other time they must not be read, because he holds with Nehemiah, as we have learned in the following Boretha, although it was said that the hagiographa should not be read, still they may be discussed and lectured upon, and when a quotation must be made, The book may be referred to, and the quotation read, said Ar Nehemiah, why was it prohibited to read the Hagiographa on the Sabbath? In order that it might be said, as it is forbidden to read the Hagiographa, it is also more so forbidden to read ordinary papers. In a closed space surrounded by walls, what is to be understood by the term closed space? Said Arhista. This refers to a lane surrounded on 3 sides by walls and having on the 4th side 2 beams. If the lane have 3 walls and 2 beams, it is a closed space. Here we are back with the spatiality shit, back when we were arguing about how many L's do you toss a thing under and over between private and public places and unclaimed properties. And just don't make me do math on this one, guys. That's all I ask, because I don't want to do math. Okay. If it have only 1 beam on the 4th wall, it is an open place. And the Tana of the Mishnah, as well as Ben Bathaira, hold in accordance with the opinion of our Elazar, who decided to that effect elsewhere, said Rabba to Arhista, does thou call a space surrounded by 3 walls and 1 beam an open space? If this be so, according to the sages, why cannot victuals and beverages also be brought there, not alone? Scriptures, in my opinion, 2 walls and 2 beams, 1 on each side, form a closed space, and 2 walls with only 1 beam constitute an open space. And the 2 Tanaim of the Mishnah are not in accord with our Elazar, but with Ar Yehuda, who opposes him in Tract Erubin. Said Ar Abaya to Rabbah, and why should not, according to thy explanation, victuals and beverages be brought there for safety in conformity with the opinion of the sages? Said Ar Ashi, however, the 2 Tanaim of the Mishnah are the opinion of our Elazar, and a closed place is formed by 3 walls and 1 beam, while an open place is made by 3 walls without any beam at all, and even according to our Elazar, who requires 2 beams, it is only for the bringing thither of victuals, but for the safekeeping of the scriptures. Our Elazar holds even 1 beam to be sufficient. Mishnah 1 may save enough victuals to last for 3 meals. On the Sabbath, in the event of a conflagration, such food as is fit for human beings may be saved for the use of human beings. And such as is fit for the cattle may be saved for cattle. How so? If a conflagration happens on the eve of Sabbath, one may save enough victuals for 3 meals. If it occurs in the forenoon of Sabbath, one may save enough for 2 meals, and if it occurs in the afternoon of Sabbath, one may only save enough for 1 meal. Arios, however, says 1 meal may at all times save enough for 3 meals. Ugh, you made me math, you bastards. But, they're trying to keep a certain balance, obviously. All right. That's a pretty long Gemara, and it's, all right. It's 5:03. We're going to take a break here, because I don't want to get into an enormous Gemara like that. All right. And so we're running with about an hour left to the show. This one is Zombie Inc.
Defend our Hey everybody, Walton Goggins here, starting a business.
Hey, okay, we're back. Uh-huh. All right. Let me double check this real quick. Don't think I've been reading fast enough where I'm closer than I think. No, because it's way down here. Yeah, if you guys are following me on the screen, we're on page 231, and the chapter ends on page 237. And we've got about 40 minutes left when you consider the next break and everything else. So, let's have it and get back to the book burnings. Gemara, let us see. Why should it only be allowed to save 3 meals or 2 or 1? It says further on that the victuals for the meals are to be brought into such a place as is covered by an irub. In such a place, things may be carried and the things themselves may also be handled. Then why should one not be allowed to save more than enough for 3 meals? Said Rabba, Because a man is anxious for his possessions, he might, if allowed, to save as much as possible, forget about the Sabbath and extinguish the fire altogether. Said Abaya to him, we have learned previously that a man upon whose roof a barrel filled with victuals becomes broken may bring another vessel and put it underneath the barrel in order that the contents of the barrel fall into the vessel, but may not bring another barrel and transfer the contents of the broken one into the new, nor may he place a new barrel alongside of the other and remove the contents of the broken one into the new one by keeling over the former and letting its contents drop into the latter. It's like some of these, as I've gone through a lot of this, it's really overdoing some very simple premise. As I'm listening to this, it makes more rational sense in my mind what ought to be going on here. And as much as you probably shouldn't even be doing that because it's a pain in the ass, getting there via all of this is whacked out, man. It's just this big game of, well, what if I do this, and what if I do this, and what if I do this? And they can't simplify this in words to boil it down to a principle? And then take that principle and back it up by scripture? You have to go through this whole, like, how's a raven like a writing desk kind of fucking madness? Okay. Place a new barrel alongside of the other and remove the contents of the broken one. Into the new one by keeling over and driving the ladder. Why should he not be allowed to do this? He is on private ground and the barrel with its contents may be handled. If it is prohibited as a precautionary measure in the manner of the previous case, where does the precaution arise? This latter case is also a precautionary measure, for were he allowed to remove the contents from one barrel into another, there is fear of his carrying it through public ground. The text of the Boretha, however, teaches further that if the man had guests in his house, he may remove the contents of the broken barrel into a new one, etc. But he may not first remove the contents and then call guests, but first call guests and then remove the things. Nor may he pretend to call guests, but must actually desire their company. In the name of Archios Bar Yehuda, it was said that even calling guests as a pretext is also allowed. The rabbis taught if one had saved from the fire fine bread, he must not return and save coarse bread. But if he first save the coarse, he may return and save the fine. One may also save enough on the Day of Atonement in the event of a fire, when that day is succeeded by Sabbath, to last him through the Sabbath also, but on a Sabbath it is not permitted to save enough for the Day of Atonement. If the Sabbath falls on the day before, and all the more so is it not allowed if the Sabbath precedes a feast day, nor is it allowed to save on the Sabbath for the following Sabbath. The rabbis taught, if one forgets bread in an oven, and in the meantime the Sabbath sets in, it is allowed to save enough bread to last for 3 meals, and one may say to bystanders, come and take out as much as ye need. And when taking out the bread, it should not be done with the baker's shovel, but with some other utensil. Arhista said, a man should see that everything should be prepared on Friday for the Sabbath as early as possible. As it is written in Exodus 16:5, And it shall come to pass on the 6th day, when they prepare what they shall have brought in, etc. This means that as soon as the 6th day sets in, preparations for the Sabbath should be begun. Ar-Eba said, a man must pronounce the benediction over 2 loaves of the Sabbath. For it is written in Ibid 16:5, double bread, said Ar-Ashi. I noticed the manner in which Ar-Kahana did this. He would hold 2 loaves, but would cut only 1, because it is written in Ibid 16:18. Every man, according to his eating, had he gathered Ar-Zira, used to cut off the loaf sufficient to last him for the entire meal. Asked Rabina of Ar-Ashi, does this not seem gluttonous, to hold so large a piece in one's hand? Answered Ar-Ashi, because 1 weekday's such was not his wont. It does not appear gluttonous on Sabbath, and Azira did this only in honor of the day. Ar-Ami and Ar-Asi, if happening to have the same bread used in making an erub for use on Sabbath, would pronounce the benediction over the bread, for they said that because one religious duty had been fulfilled with the bread, it should be used to fulfill another religious duty. So you see, when you've taken out all of the wisdom, all of the intuition, all of the truth that you're doing magic, that you're doing ritual, you're sitting there just playing with the monkey mind, and this is just a game for what you're supposed to do during this time, and they're leaving it ambiguous so you can play with the game, take risks, and like a casino, you get to pay the house, and the house always wins. It's the same bread as making and the Sabbath pronounce a benediction. And so, like this is about eating something that during the time of the Sabbath that you're not supposed to. But there are different rituals one could possibly do on the Sabbath. And you're trying to get a hold of the baseline for the ritual of things to do. And then it's the question of your creativity. This is so right-hand the fuck path that the artist is completely squashed to this one bare like thing. There's a hatred of art and science in all of this. There's a hatred of art and science. And there's always the propaganda of making art and science incredibly immoral, so that way it stunts progress in culture. So, how so? If a conflagration, etc., the rabbis taught how many meals should a man eat on the Sabbath. 3, Ar-Hidka said. 4, said Ar-Yahanan. Both the rabbis and Ar-Hidka adduced their opinions from the same passage as follows. Exodus 16:25, and Moses said, eat it today, for a Sabbath is this day unto the Lord. Today ye will not find it in the field. Ar-Hidka holds that day being mentioned 3 times, 3 meals should be eaten during the day and 1 at night, and the rabbis hold that the day includes the night and only 3 meals are required. Our Mishnah, however, which decrees that only enough for 3 meals should be saved, does therefore not agree with the Ar-Hidka, according to whose opinion, however, will the following Mishnah be. Tract Peh, if a poor man have sufficient for 2 meals, he must not apply for another at the public kitchen, where food is distributed. But he may apply for the general charity fund. If he have, however, sufficient for 14 meals for the week, he must not even apply to the general charity fund. If the Mishnah were of the opinion of Ar-Hidka, he should have had sufficient for 16 meals, so as to afford him 4 meals on the Sabbath, and according to the rabbis, for 15 meals in order to have 3 meals on the Sabbath. It is therefore neither in accord with Arhidka nor with the rabbis. Now you see, there's kind of a neat lesson as to adhering to these traditions for a trial period of time. Funny that the word trial is used in that respect. Because you can learn some serious rationing skills by doing your own version of this practice. The point is that you're holding on to your proportions in the same manner and then honoring it in whatever way. I can imagine my ancestors did this to prepare for the winter. Nay, it is in accord with the rabbis, and the poor man should eat his Sabbath night meal on the Sabbath day. So with his Friday night meal, it will make 3 meals on the Sabbath. It may also be said that the Mishnah holds with Arhidka, and that the poor man should leave his Friday meal for the Sabbath. Shall we make the poor man then fast on Friday? You see, this would be a nightmare for me because I am so busy and out and about. Like, this would just kill me to try to live like this. To be prepared for the weekend, and that, like, if I have to work Friday and commute and things, right? It makes perfect sense to me why so many of these guys are on welfare. They can't afford to honor the Sabbath. It would therefore be better to hold the Mishnah opinion to be in accord with Ar Akiba, who says that the poor man should make Sabbath equal to a weekday in order not to be forced to rely upon charity. Thus 14 meals are sufficient, and he may eat only 2 on Sabbath. When they're teaching the kids about this, is this whole thing like okay, kids, have a discussion group about it? Because they're just trying to, because the teacher doesn't know the law either, and he's saying, well, maybe one of these kids will figure out the fucking law. And if they don't, at the very least, we'll have an idea of how we talk about the law in the future, based on all the weird things going on. Like what do these kids fucking think about the modern universe? I'm not sure if they have cell phones. I'm talking about the Hasidics, right? But anyway, according to whose opinion in the Mishnah Tract Pei, if a wandering mendicant come to a town, he must be given a loaf which can be bought for a pundian, 1/48th of a sela. When the price of flour is 1 sela for 4 seahs, and the sages calculated that such a loaf is sufficient for 2 meals, if he remain overnight, he must be given lodging, and if he remain over Sabbath, he must be given 3 meals for Sabbath. Shall we assume that the Mishnah holds with the rabbis and not with Arhidka? It might also be in accord with Arhidka. If the mendicant happen to have 1 meal with him, he is told to eat the 1 he has and is given 3 more. Should the mendicant then depart empty-handed? Nay, he is also given a meal to take along on the way. What must be given for lodging, said Arpepa, enough to hire a bed and a pillow. The rabbis taught the dishes used on the eve of Sabbath may be cleansed for the Sabbath morning meal. The dishes used in the morning may be cleansed for the midday meal. So here's cleaning restrictions, which naturally, because cleaning is work, right? So this ties into what work may be done on the Sabbath. And then and then I guess I don't know if this is cleaning that is just exception work. So there's always the exception. Just like the rules of the Sabbath, they don't make sense. They're not human. No one's nervous system can adjust to this. And the whole world would be like this. Anyway. But those of the afternoon must not be cleansed until the Sabbath is over. All this is said concerning dishes, but glasses, cups, and all drinking utensils may be cleansed at any time, because there are no fixed times for drinking. Well, at least we're keeping hydrated. Our Simon ben Pazi, in the name of our Yehoshua ben Levi, quoting Bar Kepera, said, "One who keeps the commandment to eat 3 times on the Sabbath will be rid of 3 punishments." The tribulations at the time of Messiah, the punishment of Gehenna, and the war of Gog and Magog from the tribulations of Messiah, because the Sabbath is always mentioned as the day, and it is written in Malachi 3:23, "Behold, I send unto you Elijah the prophet before coming of the day of the Lord, the great and the dreadful, from the punishment of Gehenna, because it is written in Zephaniah 1:15," and that's part of the Mishnayot, obviously. I don't think there's a Zephaniah book. I don't think I've ever... Oh, no, I am wrong. There is a Zephaniah. It's like a 3-chapter fucking scroll. Zephaniah 1:15. This is fascinating because this is Messiah stuff. A day of wrath is that day, etc., meaning the Gehenna from the war of Gog and Magog, because it is written in Ezekiel, on the day of Gog's coming. On the day of, just like that, on the day of God's. I'm sure it makes sense, but it's amazing how they abbreviate the whole fucking point. So, a day of rage will be that day, a day of distress and constraint, a day of thunderstorms and ruination, a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of cloud and murkiness. Sure. Oh, hold on a second. You guys probably want to see this. Whoops. There we go. Now what was the context? Keeps the commandments to eat 3. Yeah, this is about the eating in the day. "Behold, I send unto you Elijah the prophet coming the day of the Lord, a great dreadful, from the punishment of Gehenna, because it is written." Right, because this is... Okay, so let's look at this Gehenna lead up here. Let's go to 1. "The word of Yahweh which came to Zephaniah, son of Cushi, son of Gedaliah, son of Amariah, son of Hezekiah, in the days of Josiah, son of Amon, king of Judah." So this is a Judean king. This is southern kingdom, right? So these guys are different. These guys are the namesake of Jew. And these guys were... These guys get conflated with the rest of Israel as a whole. Like it all gets downplayed in the Zionism discussion. Because I would contend that part of what we are seeing here is mostly a Judea being called Israel. "I shall terminate everything off the surface of the ground, averring is Yahweh. I shall terminate human and beast. I shall terminate the flyer of heaven and the fish of the sea and the stumbling blocks with the wicked. And I will cut humanity off the surface of the ground, averring is Yahweh." Yeah, so I thought I thought that God wasn't going to do that kind of thing anymore because the flood and the promise and the flood and everything else. And this sounds extremely more total than that, unless he's going to talk about who gets spared. I'll stretch out my hand over Judah and over all dwellers of Jerusalem, and I will cut off the name of Baal from this place, and the name of the idolatrous priests with the priests. Isn't that interesting that I'm reading this now? So, in a very big gaslight, everybody knows about how Iran did that. That was being done by the Ayatollah's people. I saw the Iranian regime flag, not the flag that they want because they want to reinstall the Shah in an American-friendly relationship. Okay. This game is all about getting you to figure out which side you want to be on. Don't be on those sides. Work on knowing your side instead of figuring out their sides. You have a side. Be on your side. And those worshiping on the housetops to the host of the heavens, and those worshiping, swearing to Yahweh and swearing by Milcom. Who the fuck is Milcom? Milcom X? It says in king of them, though. Right here. What's that supposed to mean? Well, it's Melech. So but this is the King Melech, which I guess would be different than the messenger, but probably named after messenger. So I can follow with that. So you're swearing. So he swears by God and king, by God and country. And those turned away from following Yahweh who do not seek Yahweh nor require him. Be quelled at the presence of my Lord Yahweh, for near is the day of Yahweh, for Yahweh prepares a sacrifice. He sanctifies his called ones. It will be in the day of Yahweh's sacrifice that I visit evil on the chiefs and on the king's sons and on all those clothed in foreign clothing. So, you see, right, this is, you can see where we're being pushed in this manner with the false nationalism argument, where we're taking things too far with our nationalism. I say this as a nationalist who is somehow an anarchist, voluntarist. I don't know how that works, but that's what works. It's probably best that it is that way. And I will visit evil on everyone, leaping over the threshold in that day, those filling the house of their lords with violence and deceit. Okay, and I will visit evil on everyone. Hold on a minute. And I will visit on everyone the leaping of over the still in the day, that he, the one, fills the house of the Lord. Okay. It says here, and I visit on every of the one leaping, or the edulg, over the sill, in the day, the he, the one, and filling the house of the lords of them violence and deceit. Okay, so the one leaping, or the idulg. What the heck does the idulg mean? I think this is the dalag, to spring. Okay. What about the sill? Excuse me. What is the sill? The miftan, a stretcher. Leaping and stretching over. On every of the one leaping over the still in that day. Leaping over the threshold. And I will visit evil on everyone leaping over the threshold in that day. He will visit evil on so I think he's talking about there's evil on everyone that he will visit. If you take that the wrong way, it makes it sound like God is coming to visit you with evil. And I could see how if a preacher misinterprets the way you read that through the corruption of language, which is Thoth's problem, that you would characterize God a certain way. All right. There will come in that day a varying is Yahweh, the sound of a cry from the fish gate, and a howling from the second quarter, and a great breaking from the hills. The fish gate, eh? Is that a reference to Pisces, perhaps? Perhaps it's a reference... Oh, look at that! Look at that. What's that? Idigum? Dog. Maybe doggone? Like dog is dag. Dag or dog is a fish. Dagon, doggone, doggone. Ha ha! A cry from Dagon's gate. Found you, motherfucker. Okay. What was the verse in question I was getting to? I was getting to 15. That was 10. Howl, dwellers of the mortar, for all the traffickers. People will be stilled. All transporters of silver will be cut off. Oh, shit. Dude. They're definitely... We might be in Gehenna. We might be in motherfucking Gehenna. It will be at that season I shall search Jerusalem with lamps, and I will visit evil on those men who are curdled on their lees. Those saying in their heart, Yahweh shall not do good, nor shall he do evil. Weird. Visit evil on the men who are curdled on their lees. What is a lee? The lees of them. The shimrem, the shimer, something preserved, i.e. the settling, like the settling of wine. Now visit evil on the men who are curdled on their lees. Curdle, okay, so they're drunk. Those saying in their heart, Yahweh shall not do good, nor shall do evil. Okay, I think that makes a little bit of sense now. It's kind of like it's insulting God is the idea. So their estate will be robbed and their houses a desolation. Though they build houses, yet they shall not dwell in them. Though they plant vineyards, they shall not drink their wine. We got that big housing market, people building houses and they can't afford to live in the houses they build. I'm part of a construction crew doing my part to build apartment buildings that I can't afford to live in unless I were to go on welfare. I mean, and those aren't welfare houses. I mean, just for me to afford to live in a place right now because I have to fix a lot of problems. Near is the great day of Yahweh. Near and exceedingly swift the sound of the day of Yahweh will be bitter. There the master shall raise the battle cry. A day of rage will be that day, a day of distress and constraint, a day of thunderstorms, ruination. We read that, all right. A day of trumpets and shouts of alarm, against the fortressed cities and against the lofty corner towers. I will bring distress on humanity, and they will walk like the blind. For against Yahweh they sin. Their blood will be poured out like soil, and their intestines like ordure. Moreover, their silver and their gold. So this is where I get back to things like, I can see how this works on... This is more about somebody figured out sociopsychology without understanding it, and they turned into a prophet because they looked at a situation and they had such a message in a moment of clarity that they could get this one fucking thing out before it was fucking too late for people to understand what the fuck they've put themselves against, right? And some wisdom for for being this absent-minded of well-being, which was understood through this archaic devotion to the gods in this sense. And considering this guy only has 3 chapters in his scroll, that's probably what it was. He had a moment of clarity. He had a day in the spotlight, maybe 3, to get this message out. Right? And so those people that can't get off the script are going to live through Gehenna in our time. All right, we're a little late on the break, so let's get to the next song. So this is... We're going to do a double because this one's kind of short. This is Pallor Anders Visa and then Coerced Coexistence. Hello.
Do you want to play with me?
Hey, welcome back. It's been all quiet in the chat room, and that's okay. Hope everybody is enjoying their Sunday. I'm in the middle of the big snow, it's not a storm, it's just snowing. But it's sticking now, and so a little bit later, I'm gonna do some night shoveling after all this fun. All right, let's keep going for a little bit. Go maybe about 15 minutes. Go little after 6. So I went through Zephaniah, and you know what? Let's do Ezekiel. Let's do Ezekiel too. Good old Ezekiel, because Ezekiel's wild. I have done breakdowns on Ezekiel's wheel. I can't remember if they're on this channel or if they're on a backup channel, because I may have lost it in a prior channel. But using this very program, I covered Ezekiel's wheel and found out 2 fucking things about it. Thing one is that wheel was part of, was like a drone, and it was following Ezekiel around as he was helping God sell the Israelites off into slavery for their sins. It's not used in a pleasant manner in the book. Whoops. Where am I? There we are. Old testes. Where is Ezekiel? There he is. Let's see, which one is it? Ezekiel 38, I think. Right? Ugh, come on. There we go. 38:18. On the day of Gog's coming. Okay. It will come in that day, in the day Gog comes. Anyway, against the ground of Israel, averring is my Lord Yahweh, that my fury shall ascend in my anger. All right. You see, all of this can make sense about God's fury and things like that. In one way, but it's what God does with that fury. And we try to differentiate ourselves from some of the barbarity, because you'll get confused in it all, because you will see, well, I would agree. Wow. Their sins make me angry too. Like, I'm a pagan, and I'll look at I'll read all, and I can read off fucking sins that I read off sins in Ezekiel. Say, yeah, they went pretty bad, but you just fucking killed their children. Like, I'm pretty sure Ezekiel killed children in this story. But anyway, don't quote me on that. So let's look at the build up to that. Let's not go all the way here. You will say, I shall ascend against a land of unwalled villages. I shall come on quiet people who are dwelling in trust, all of them dwelling without walls, and there are no bars or double doors for them. To loot, and to plunder. Plunder. Dude, like, he's saying it twice. Yeah, to loot, and plunder. He's like, is he a barbarian? Fucking, you know? You know, he really wants to be, he's really giving you permission to be monstrous, right? I shall come, okay, dwelling in the, okay, yeah, to loot, plunder, to reverse your hand against the deserted places now indwelt, and against the people gathered from the nations who have gotten cattle and acquisitions, who dwell at the center of the earth. What? To plunder, to reverse your hand against the deserted places now indwelt, and against the people gathered from the nations who have gotten cattle and acquisitions, who dwell at the center of the earth? Wait, what? What? I want an explanation. One's dwelling on the navel of the earth. Hold on. Tabuar, from an unused root meaning to pile up, properly accumulated, i.e. implication. What? Then why is that the navel, then? Oh, the navel. Oh, okay. First off, yes, I understand the maritime law, Phoenician lingo, but when that stuff is so obvious, sometimes I think of that last, but I do think of it, but I put it last because I figured that out a long ass time ago. I am a student of Jordan Maxwell. I understand these things. So the navel just means the center of civilization, right? And everybody knows that the Levant is, including Kemet even, and kind of in particular, is the center of the world. It would be the center of all the Mediterranean maps. Sheba and Dedan and the merchants of Tarshish and all its traders shall say to you, do you come to loot? Let me look at this. They shall say to you, to loot of loot. To loot. Oh, I think I understand. I think that it's two contexts. So we got shalal and shalal. So, okay, it's saying it twice because it's an action, it's a verb and a noun. The loot is looted, because this is the bullshit of our language, right? What are our phonetics here? But here it's also the same bullshit, because it's shill and shill. That's kind of funny that loot is shill. And what do you call somebody who is a fake who just wants to make money? You call him a shill. He's looting you. And that's why he's a shill, as opposed to a legitimate business person. The el shill and the shill. To loot some loot. So that's what he means. And to plunder some plunder. Therefore, prophecy, son of humanity, and you will say to Gog, thus says my Lord Yahweh, in that day when my people Israel dwell in trust, shall you not rouse up? You will come from your place, from the remote parts of the north, and many people with you, riding horses, all of them, a great assembled force and a vast army. Then you will ascend against my people Israel like a cloud covering the land. In the latter days it shall be, and I will bring you against my land, that all the nations may know, when I am hallowed through you before their eyes, Gog. So this could be an allusion to the Scythians or the Yamnaya, who were like horse lords. Not exactly sure how far back we're talking, but I would say that that's in reference to steppe people. If there is such a vast army of horses, we could be talking about the hordes of the Mongols too. We were going up to what verse on this? 18, almost there. Thus say my Lord Yahweh, it is you of whom I spoke in former days by means of my servants, the prophets of Israel, who prophesied in those days for years to bring you against them. It will come in that day, in the day of that Gog comes against the ground of Israel. Averring is my Lord Yahweh, that my fury shall ascend in my anger. And in my jealousy I speak in the fire of my rage. Assuredly, in that day a great earthquake shall come upon the ground of Israel. The fish of the sea, the flyer of the heavens, the wild animals in the field, every creeping thing that moves about on the ground, and every human who is on the surface of the ground. And every human who is on the surface of the ground will quake before me. The mountains will be demolished, the cliffs will fall, and every wall shall fall to the earth. That sounds like a seismic event that would have caused a liquefaction, which would then tie into Tartarian mud flood theory rationally. It's just a question of what was the cutoff year. I want to say it's when the Holy Roman Empire fell in the 1600s. All right, that's good enough on that. Let's read a little bit further. It's 6 o'clock now, but I want to go over a pinch. Ad Yohanan said in the name of Adios, one who makes the Sabbath pleasant will be rewarded with a boundless inheritance, as it is written in Isaiah 58:14. Then shalt thou find delight in the Lord, and I will cause thee to tread upon the high places of the earth, and I will cause thee to enjoy the inheritance of Jacob thy father. For the mouth of the Lord hath spoken it, not the inheritance of Abraham, concerning whom it is written. Genesis 13:17. Arise, walk through the land in the length of it and in the breadth of it, etc. And not as in the case of Isaac, as it is written in Ibid 26:4. And I will give unto thy seed all of these countries, but as it is written of Jacob, Ibid 28:14, and thy seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and thou shalt spread abroad to the west and to the east and to the north and to the south. Ar Nahaman bar Itzhak said, the man who makes the Sabbath pleasant will also be saved the pain of exile, because it is written in Isaiah 58:14, and I will cause thee to ride upon the high places of the earth, and Deuteronomy 33:29, and thou shalt tread upon their high places, said Yahuda in the name of Rab, he who makes the Sabbath pleasant is given everything his heart desires. Because it is written in Psalms 37:4, and delight thyself in the Lord, and he will give thee the wishes of thy heart. What is meant by delight from the passage in Isaiah 58:13 is that thou call the Sabbath a delight. We can adduce that he delights means Sabbath, wherewith should the Sabbath be made pleasant. Said Ar Yehuda, and the son of Ar Samuel bar Shilath in the name of Rab. So I think partially what is going on here, bringing up all this shit like Ezekiel, is saying that you could be doing fine, but if you're doing that on the Sabbath, I will freaking abandon you and deliver you to your enemies, is what he is saying, for being deliberately bad people on the Sabbath. And remember, all of this is just about rules of the Sabbath. And maybe a handful of rules of conduct that are in general, that I've found thus far. I'm assuming that the Torah has enough clout where these people are not killing themselves too fucking often, but I think that there's a lot of fucking murder that we don't know about. Murder in the name of the law. Even with any dish whatever prepared, especially for the Sabbath, what does any dish whatever mean? Said Arpepa. Even small fish fried in oil? Ar Yehuda said in the name of Rab, if the Israelites had kept the first Sabbath after the commandments were given properly, no nation or race on earth could have harmed them. For it is written in Exodus 16:27, and it came to pass on the seventh day that there went out some of the people to gather, but they found nothing, and not long afterwards Amalek attacked the Israelites. Arth Yohanan said in the name of Simon ben Yochai, if the Israelites were to keep 2 Sabbaths in succession as they should, they would immediately be released from exile. For it is written in Isaiah 56:6, also the sons of the stranger that join themselves unto the Lord to serve him and to love the name of the Lord, to be unto him as servants. Everyone that keepeth the Sabbath by not violating it, and those who take hold of my covenant, and immediately afterwards it is written in Ibid 7, even these will I bring to my holy mountain. Now, if we're talking about bringing people to holy mountains, we're talking about alchemical principles of ascension and the purity rites of being worthy of reaching the pinnacle and attaining true gnosis, in which all of this is just the harshest expression of keeping this purity life discipline. Right? So you want to get to the holy mountain. It's not even saying heaven, it's saying the holy mountain. Like, here's Zeus, and it's just like, don't look at Prometheus over here. No, turn away from Lucifer. He's a degenerate. You don't want to listen to degenerates, And then he makes up some degeneracy campaign about Lucifer that becomes the delight of the left-hand path. But, no. Just be an anal retentive asshole, and when you're dead, you'll be on the holy mountain. Congratulations. And I'm sure there's plenty of stuff that gives your life purpose that is talked about amongst their kind. Just raising a family and all that kind of shit. But anyway, Ardios said, may my share in the world to come be with those who eat 3 meals on the Sabbath. Again, he said, may my share in the world to come be with those who recite halal every day. This is not so. The Master says that he who recites halal every day is a blasphemer. Nay, arios does not mean halal, but hallelujah. Now, isn't that interesting? Those said again. Hold on. Nah, I think we're 6:07 now. We're good. I think we're good. That's our read for today. I had to hit a lot of the ISA on this one, which I think was well worth it. There's so much to extract from that shit. Okay. Thank you guys so much. I am going to try and enjoy the rest of my evening and figure out when is the best time to start shoveling. Peace.